there's a migrant crisis in Europe. It cannot be a mistake when constantly all over the EU, there are leaders making the most mad decisions when they know the general public are up in arms about this, when they can see the effect it's having, not just socially on a country, but in terms of security, in terms of GDP per capita, all of it, across the board. And then they do things like this. So Spain, they're a socialist government, so kind of to be expected, but they are giving 500,000, 500,000, undocumented migrants legal status. This is an historic day for our country, says Elmer Saif, Spain's Minister of Inclusion. There you go, Minister of Inclusion, that says it all, doesn't it? The thing is, right, if all these undocumented people have broken into Spain, and Spain's been on the front line of the migration crisis, if you suddenly go, right, you've got legal status, well, guess what that means? I bet they can go anywhere in Europe, can't they? Let's bring in one of my all-time favourites. He is unbeatable when it comes to this topic, political theorist Ralph Schöll. How you doing, Ralph?
Hi, Alex. Good to see you. Now,
hey!
I have to ask you something.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do it on air because then you cannot escape. I was thinking we should do a live event or something in London or somewhere in England at some point. I think that we need to speak to an even bigger audience than you already have. I'm just putting it out there.
What?
If there's interest in your audience for us to do that.
I love the fact you said a bigger audience than I already have at a live event. I mean, what, you don't think I don't fill an arena on this show? Watch yourself. I was up for the idea until you just blew your chances there, son.
That came out completely wrong. You know, English is not my first language. Sometimes I say things that I don't mean, and I mean things that I don't say. It's a tricky thing.
Do you know, I think it's a really good idea. I thought we're having dinner soon. When are you over?
Well, I'm still planning it, but I will keep you and your viewers posted, because what we're experiencing right now, and this dovetails also with what's going on in the United States, it feels like this is I hope always that this is the last hurrah on the left, but I think they start to push now even harder because they see that the political winds are changing. There was an absolutely interesting event in Davos. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, you know, not somebody I would assume we are huge fans of, he said during a panel that the paradigm that Western economies need migration to keep its prosperity and its living standards is wrong, because due to technological progress we probably can keep our living standards without mass migration. So even Larry Fink is now saying that the argument the left is often making, oh, we need migration because of economic reasons, he says that is no longer true. And I think if this is the new view that is gaining ground, people like the Spanish government, they say, oh God, we have to push now even harder in a shorter period of time because the winds are changing. So this is it's interesting what's happening at the moment.
I mean, what sort of a risk do 500,000 undocumented men in Spain getting legal status have on the rest of Europe? Because with the Schengen Acquis, with open borders, where people can move about freely without any particular checks, given that these people, Lord knows who they are now here to stay, I mean, that impacts everybody in Europe.
Well, look at it from this perspective. Every dam break starts with a little crack. I mean, what do you think is this going to do in the origin countries of migration? They say, hey, well, if the Spaniards give 500,000, I would say illegal migrants, I'm not sure why we also use the term undocumented migrants. It's an illegal migrant. Now, if I drive my car without a permit, I'm not an undocumented driver. I'm an illegal driver. So this is even the narrative, the language you use. But the idea is, of course, that it's 500,000 now, it's 500,000 again next year, it's 500,000 again the year after, and at some point there's going to be a blanket amnesty because, yeah, you know, this drip makes no sense. Let's give it to all of them. I mean, they did, by the way, I think this was during the Reagan administration or shortly after, they did it in the United States, and the promise has always been, you know what, we do one amnesty and then we close the border. But they always did the amnesty. They never closed the border, right? It's always one half of the promise that is being kept, and it's going to be the same thing here.
I actually find the word undocumented more harrowing than the word illegal. There's one thing if someone is illegal, and that's pretty grotesque, but at least you might have some idea who they are, where they've come from, and their backstory, even if they did break into the country. Undocumented? I mean, that's playing Russian roulette. That's spinning the barrel and hoping one of them isn't a bullet.
And you know, as somebody who comes from the city of Sigmund Freud, it is such a Freudian term, because what you, not you as a person, but those who use the term are saying is that whether you're English or not, whether you're Austrian or not, is a matter of documentation. It's a matter of bureaucracy. It's a matter of, administrative acts. No, that's not what it is. I mean, this is the entire debate we have, particularly on the political right at the moment, which is a heated debate on what does it mean to be Austrian? What does it mean to be German? What does it mean to be English? And it certainly is more than a piece of paper. This is always my argument about citizenship, like this idea that if somebody has a passport of a certain country, that makes them in every dimension that is necessary for a society to work, a citizen of that country is not true. And this is, again, this weird Western, over-administrative, bureaucratic idea that whatever happens is just a matter of documentation. By the way, this is the same what we see at the universities. If you have a title, if you have some credentials, then supposedly that means something. No, it doesn't.
Do you know, I wouldn't have noticed this story were it not for you filling up my timeline because my algorithm's got good taste. But, our media in the UK doesn't really report on anything that we should know about or anything that might be of interest to us anymore. All we hear about is like a football commentary over Gaza. But I saw that staggering speech, that clip, from Ursula von der Leyen that you had retweeted. She's standing behind a podium looking like an Elnet advert, like she always does, literally saying, what a historic day, isn't this great? We're going to bring in gazillions of Indians into Europe as students, as migrant workers. I mean, everything. Tell us about that.
Yeah, they're also seasonal workers. I mean, what kind of seasonal workers from India is Europe or continental Europe going to need? And there is this big myth still out there that a qualified person from India or any other place cannot come to Europe or the UK. Of course you can. Like for qualified personnel, there are always ways. Whether you have a company that wants to hire them, it might be a bit difficult, admittedly that's true, but that's again a problem of bureaucracy. But this idea that once again you have to grant, blanket permits. It's the same with the student visa programs. Like this whole idea of the Erasmus study program to be expanded to the Middle East and North Africa. My sense is, I know I sound a bit conspiratorial here, is that they say, okay, we can no longer bring in people as asylum seekers, so now we bring them in as students, as researchers. And we have, there are many hardworking Indians, don't get me wrong, and in comparison to other migrant groups, people from India might be preferable. But it's very clear in Canada, in the UK, in Australia, that there is a lot of fraud when it comes to migration from India. So this is undeniable, and why now the European Union is all gung-ho to participate in that fraud, I have to admit, is beyond me.
I mean, look, I lived in India. I love that country to the bone. It's not even a country, it's a subcontinent. It is huge. And as a result, you get all manner of people. You get the most brilliant professors and people who are top chemists and nuclear scientists. They're great at computing. Some highly educated people. But it really is a country of two halves. And I just kind of think, what is Europe doing? Because we've got a crisis here. We've got a crisis battering our frontiers on a daily basis. And on top of this, we've now got open the floodgates to whomever from India. And we're not talking about the brilliant people who could come over and work in AI or genetic sciences. No, we're saying seasonal workers and students. We're then saying, oh, let's add men and women, probably mainly men from the Maghreb, the north of Africa, to come and, just help them, give them, cash money and support to come and study at our universities. Anyone who thinks that the migrant crisis is over, oh no, buckle yourself in, because things are going to get even worse. According to these two policies alone, that is, I don't even know. I mean, it's craziness. It's like, it's self-harm.
No, and you see the narrative that is being construed. I mean, I'm sure, you have to tell me, Alex, I don't know, but currently in continental Europe, everything that's happening in Minnesota, Minneapolis, is like top of the news. There are more reports about Minneapolis than there are about what's happening in Iran. And I think the reason for this is very clear, because the idea is now that you can use the maybe fraudulent or maybe even criminal behavior of certain ICE agents to pretty much abandon the entire deportation and migration agenda. And this is ultimately what they want to do here as well. This is why you have articles in English newspapers and German newspapers that say, if the right comes to power, the same thing is going to happen over here. But the point they're making is that at the end of the day, what they want is the complete abolishment of the concept of illegal migration, meaning that everybody who comes to your country and does not commit a crime has a right to stay. I see differently. You have no right to go to England, you have no right to go to Austria, you have no right to go to the United States. At best, it's a privilege, and it has to go through legal channels. but this is where they want to go. This is what they're pushing for. And we have to be very, very careful. For whatever reason, for quasi-religious reasons, the current ruling elite, although, as I said, there are signs, even in Davos, that some of them are trying a course correction, but it's one of their creeds, like net zero, like, the climate religion, is mass migration. And as you said, there is this odd idea. I've been to Lebanon in 2010. Interesting, fascinating country, very nice people, enjoyed it tremendously. But that doesn't mean that I want to invite half of Lebanon to move to Austria. I mean, this is the same, this odd idea. You would never do it in your private life. You meet somebody in a pub. You have a great time. I mean, I hope you definitely don't do this. You would not invite everybody whom you seem likable, to live in your apartment. But this is how we do migration policy. We say, oh, I've been to this place and this was great, and my neighbor is from here. It's awesome. Yes, I also have great neighbors from all kinds of places, but that doesn't mean that I want to invite half the country to come to mine. This was all common sense a couple of years ago. I do not understand why this is no longer common sense. And the last point, since I'm on a roll here, in Spain, this was done by royal decree. So this is my information is correct, but this was the last generation. This is basically done by the government and by the king under more or less exclusion of the government. So we have now a re-establishment of, I'm exaggerating here, of quasi-absolutist monarchies that are apparently, again, gung-ho to destroy their own countries. It's a very, very odd thing that's happening. But of course, even those quote-unquote monarchs are no longer reactionary. They are woke, which is the most terrible kind of monarchy you can have.
Bloomin' heck, does Spain not remember the bad old days of Barbarossa? It's craziness. It's craziness. Listen, Ralph, Dan from Halifax, not that one, hold on. Yes, yes, yes to Alex and Ralph live and direct.
There you
That's
go.
come from Elaine. Alex asked Ralph if he would come and live in Britain and join Reform UK.
Well, I think, as I said, I care deeply about England. I hope that, I care deeply about the UK, but I do accept, I'm just an observer and commentator from the sidelines. But I wish that you can save your country. I think the world without the English or without the British, I would include, the Welsh and the Scots, would be a sadder place. I mean, it's a wonderful country. It has contributed much more to mankind, including my own, than many other countries. It pains me to say. There's a certain envy, I admit it. And this is something to be proud of. So, again,
Tusk, Ralph, when it comes to some of the most notable leaders in world history, Austria created Hitler.
Yeah, well, I mean, we left, although in our defenses, we didn't make him chancellor, that was the Germans. Right?
Yeah, there you go. It's a fair point. Oh, Ralph, we love having you on. The audience loves having you on. I can't wait for you to set foot in this country again, and let's conspire to sort something out, because I don't think we would struggle to sell a few tickets.
Ambushing you with this, but I thought this is the best way to do it, right? What better way to put you on the spot than on live TV?
Yeah, I'm ambushing you about that dinner as well, so there you go, right back at you. Oh, love you to bits, Ralph. I'll speak to you soon.
Speak soon.
Isn't he great? Also, I just love that surname, Schöllhammer.